Have you ever had that unsettling sense that something just wasn't right? That quiet nudge in your gut that something was off, yet you couldn't put your finger on it. Maybe you found yourself saying yes when every part of you wanted to say no. Maybe you've given in during an argument, even though deep down you knew you were right. Maybe you've trusted people who wore masks of kindness, only for them to reveal something darker once you'd let them in. If any of this rings true, you're not imagining things. You're not overreacting. You're waking up to a truth that most people never dare to face. Your life, your emotions, your decisions, they're being influenced every single day. Not with hypnosis or spells or grand Hollywood theatrics, but with something far more subtle, far more dangerous. Manipulation that hides behind a smile, influence that whispers instead of shouts. The most effective manipulation doesn't come with warning signs. It doesn't feel like you're being controlled. In fact, the best manipulators make you feel like you're the one in charge, like the choices were always yours, like the failures were entirely your fault. That's how the game is played. Most people move through life like chess pieces, unaware they're even on a board. And when they do begin to sense the strings being pulled, when they try to resist, they're met with guilt, fear, or doubt, so overwhelming that retreat feels like the only option. But make no mistake, this isn't random. It's deliberate, it's methodical, and it's powerful. If you think you're immune, if you think no one's ever played you, stop right there. That very confidence is part of the illusion. It's what a skilled manipulator wants you to believe. Because once you think you can't be fooled, you stop checking. You stop questioning. You become vulnerable without realizing it. But this isn't a video about comfort. This isn't about sugarcoating or soft landings. This is a wake-up call, a reckoning, a brutal flashlight shining into the shadowy corners of your own mind. Because if you want to be free, truly free, you have to understand how the strings are pulled. You have to see how the game works. There are people in this world who always seem to get what they want. They don't shout, they don't force, they don't plead, they persuade. They plant ideas so delicately in your mind that when you act on them, you believe they were yours. They don't have superpowers. They have techniques. They study you. The way your face changes when you're nervous, the shift in your voice when you're eager to be liked, the moment your eyes flicker when someone threatens to withhold affection. They listen for your unspoken fears. They notice when you crave validation, when you're afraid of being alone, when you feel guilty for saying no. And then, like artists with invisible brushes, they begin to paint the picture they want you to believe. Sometimes they'll charm you, flatter you, make you feel like you're the most seen and understood person in the world. You start to feel indebted to them, emotionally. You want to repay the kindness, and just like that, you start bending. Other times, they'll wear the face of the victim. They'll sigh, talk about how nobody understands them, how they're struggling, how they only trust you. And slowly, you find yourself carrying emotional weight that isn't yours to hold. Say no to them, and they won't explode. They won't scream. A look of disappointment will be enough. A heavy pause, a shift in tone, and you'll cave. Not because you were wrong, but because you were manipulated. And then there are those who wield fear, not through threats, but through suggestions. If you leave, you'll be alone forever. No one else would ever love you like I do. They don't imprison you with chains. They do it with ideas. Ideas that wrap around your self-worth, your identity, your ability to believe in your own strength. These aren't just personality quirks. They're blueprints. Centuries ago, Machiavelli wrote about these methods with chilling clarity. In his world, control didn't require violence. It required understanding human nature. He knew that perception matters more than truth. that emotions govern behavior more than reason. And the people who grasp this can bend reality without lifting a finger. Manipulation is not about what's said out loud. It's about what's implied, what's felt, what's left unsaid but understood. It's a theater. And the scariest part? You don't even know you've bought a ticket. You think you're living your story, but you're following someone else's script. A manipulator doesn't need to convince you. They just need to recognize where you're already unsure. And here's the catch. Manipulation only works because something inside you allows it. A wound, a longing, a need you've never fully looked at. That's the true danger. Not just the manipulator, but the unhealed space they walk into. That space could be your hunger for approval. Maybe you were taught that love is something you earn, not something you deserve. So now you chase it, you adapt, you please. You twist yourself into whatever shape others need, hoping for a nod of validation. And manipulators? They smell that desperation like blood in the water. They give you just enough to keep you coming back. They say the right thing at the right time, and you offer them everything. Your time, your trust, your energy. You call it loyalty, but it's really submission. Or maybe your gap is guilt. Maybe you've been conditioned to believe that putting yourself first is selfish, that saying no makes you cold, that having boundaries means you don't care. So you sacrifice, you overextend, you let things slide even when they hurt. And manipulators? They don't argue. They just let you punish yourself. All they have to do is look wounded, and you'll cave. Because somewhere deep inside, you've learned that your peace comes second. And for some, it's fear. Fear of abandonment, fear of being unloved, fear of walking through life alone. Manipulators offer the illusion of stability. They become your anchor, and then they use that anchor to drag you down. They make you believe that without them, you're nothing. And the worst part? You already half believed it before they said it out loud. These cracks in your foundation didn't come from nowhere. They're the result of old pain, generational wounds, emotional conditioning handed down like family heirlooms. But here's the truth. The longer you ignore those wounds, the more open you are to control. And the people who want to use you, they don't need to break down your door. They just need to knock on the right one, and you'll let them in. Machiavelli knew this well. His strategy was never brute force. It was insight. He wrote, "The nature of people is variable. In other words, people are predictable, but only to those who take the time to see them clearly." And that's what manipulators do. They don't create power. They just step into the space where awareness is missing. But that space doesn't have to stay open forever. There is a way out. You can stop being an emotional target. You can learn to see the red flags, not just in others, but in yourself. The ones that signal, I'm still vulnerable here. And when you start doing that, when you start closing those gaps, things change. You don't become cold, you become conscious. You don't lose your compassion. You gain control over it. Real freedom isn't about doing whatever you want. It's about understanding why you want it in the first place. It's about asking, is this decision mine, or did someone else plant it? That's the work, and it's not easy. It's the kind of work that feels like breaking something sacred, your comfort, your habits, your illusions. But what you rebuild afterward is unshakable. In the next part, we'll go deeper. We'll talk about how to build a mind that no manipulator can enter. We'll look at how to say no and mean it, how to walk away from emotional games, how to be kind without being exploited. This isn't just knowledge, it's strategy. And once you understand it, no one will ever control your mind again, without your permission. Stay tuned. The real transformation is just beginning. It starts with one realization. No one will ever protect your mind the way you can. And the moment you decide that emotional safety is no longer a matter of chance, but of skill, you begin building your defenses, not by closing off, but by opening your eyes. The first layer of that defense is self-awareness. Take a hard, honest look at yourself. Where do you usually cave in? Is it when someone plays the victim and you feel compelled to rescue them? Is it when someone showers you with compliments and your guard falls? Is it when someone hints that they might leave and you instantly try to make them stay? These are not personality traits. These are patterns. And once you spot them, you can start rewriting the rules of your own reactions. The manipulator thrives on predictability. They rely on you being emotionally consistent, almost mechanical. They learn your script better than you know it yourself. But the moment you become unpredictable, the game collapses. Say no where you used to say yes. Walk away where you used to apologize. Be silent when they expect you to defend yourself. This alone will expose what was hidden. You'll see them stumble, test, adjust, because now they don't know what version of you they're playing with. And that's how you shift the power. Because power, in its purest form, isn't about control over others. It's about having control over yourself in the face of everything that once controlled you. But unpredictability alone isn't enough. You need emotional detachment, not coldness, not indifference, but the kind of maturity that allows you to feel something without being ruled by it. Machiavelli would call this strategic detachment, the ability to observe emotions like waves, powerful, real, but passing. The manipulator relies on your inability to pause. They need you to feel before you think. They want you reactive. They want you defensive. They want you explaining yourself, justifying your choices, second-guessing your instincts. So don't give them that. Respond slowly. Say less. Observe more. Let their words hang in the air without rushing to fill the silence. That silence, that calm refusal to be provoked, will disarm even the most skilled manipulator. And then, strengthen your identity. Because manipulation works best when your sense of self is weak. If you don't know who you are, someone else will define it for you. If you crave validation, someone will sell you their approval at the price of your integrity. Build a core within yourself that doesn't need applause. Know your values. Know your limits. Know what you're willing to lose in order to keep your peace. That's what makes you immovable. Because once your worth is no longer up for negotiation, you become unplayable. Still, knowing all of this intellectually isn't enough. You have to live it. You have to train it. Emotional immunity is a discipline. It's choosing not to please when it costs you your clarity. It's choosing to be misunderstood rather than manipulated. It's standing by your no, even when the room goes cold. You will feel guilt. You will feel fear. But you won't be destroyed by it. Because the deeper truth is that your mind, your peace, your identity, they're not owed to anyone. And reclaiming them will always come with discomfort. Machiavelli once wrote that people must be either pampered or eliminated. It's a harsh view, but it reveals something important about power. When you give someone emotional leverage over you, they will use it. Not always out of malice, sometimes just out of habit. And that brings us to the most painful realization of all. What happens when the manipulator is someone close to you? Someone you love? Someone you've built your life around? That's where most people break. Because it's easy to call out a stranger. It's easy to set boundaries with people you don't feel connected to. But when it's a parent who guilt trips you, when it's a partner who uses love like a leash, when it's a boss who demands loyalty in exchange for job security, it's not just emotional. It's existential. You don't want to lose them. You don't want to be the bad guy. You don't want to admit that the very people you trusted most are the ones who've kept you small. But here's the truth. Love doesn't justify control. Proximity doesn't excuse manipulation. And no one, no matter their title in your life, has the right to rewrite your reality. Emotional abuse doesn't always look like yelling. Often, it looks like sacrifice, like silence, like staying in places that chip away at your dignity because leaving feels too terrifying. The manipulator close to you won't come at you like a villain. They'll frame their control as concern. They'll call their guilt-tripping love. They'll make you believe that setting boundaries is betrayal. So how do you deal with this kind of manipulation? The first step is boundary setting. Clear, calm, non-negotiable. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. A simple, "I'm not comfortable with this," is more powerful than a dozen explanations. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You just need to hold them. And then, speak the truth, not to change them, but to hear yourself say it out loud. This dynamic is unhealthy. I feel controlled. I'm no longer available for this behavior. The more you speak your truth, the more it becomes real, for you. But be prepared. Manipulators escalate when they're exposed. They'll test your resolve. They'll shift tactics. They'll cry, guilt, threaten, withdraw. This is where most people crumble. Because when someone you love turns on you, your instincts scream to fix it. But don't. Let the silence speak. Let the discomfort pass. This is the moment that determines everything. The manipulator is hoping you'll fold, that you'll step back into your old pattern. Don't. And sometimes, the hardest but most liberating act is walking away. Not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started caring about yourself. Leaving a toxic dynamic doesn't mean you don't love them. It means you've stopped abandoning yourself. And in that space, something extraordinary happens. You begin to see the world differently. You start hearing the tones beneath people's words. You notice the guilt traps, the flattery, the subtle pressure tactics. You become aware. And awareness, once awakened, cannot be undone. This is where you start to live not as a pawn, but as a strategist. Not as someone hoping to be chosen, but as someone who chooses. And that brings us to how Machiavelli's principles apply to modern life. Not as a call to become ruthless, but as a reminder to become strategic. Machiavelli never cared for appearance. He didn't write to be liked. He wrote to survive, to thrive. And in a world like ours, saturated with manipulation through social media, advertisements, influencers, narratives, his clarity is more useful than ever. He believed that perception is stronger than reality, that people are driven by emotion more than logic, that those who control perception control influence. And today, influence is currency. Everyone's selling an idea. Everyone's shaping your attention. If you don't understand that, you'll fall for it. That's why your mind must stop running on autopilot. Not everything that feels good is right. Not everything that sounds noble is wise. Not everything that appears kind is harmless. So watch closely. Study people. Don't just hear their words. Observe what they repeat, what they avoid, how they act when there's no reward. Trust behavior over promises. Trust patterns over apologies. And most of all, trust your gut. Not your fears, not your needs, but your deep, quiet intuition. That's your compass. Start listening to it. Learn to use silence. Let it unsettle. Let it be your shield. Say less. Reveal less. The more mystery you carry, the harder it is for someone to control you. Speak only when it adds clarity, not when you're trying to prove your worth. And Adopt Machiavellian ambiguity, not deceit, but flexibility. You don't have to be fully known to be respected. Let them see only what serves your peace. Protect your inner world. And above all, become sovereign over your emotions. Your calm is your power. When you stop reacting, they lose control. They can't guilt you if guilt doesn't shake you. They can't flatter you if praise doesn't hook you. They can't scare you if fear no longer makes your decisions. That's what it means to become psychologically untouchable. You're not immune to emotion. You just refuse to let it steer the wheel. Machiavelli said that those who master strategy don't wait for perfect circumstances. They act with what they have. So do that. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't wait for permission. Start now. Because every step you take away from emotional manipulation is a step toward becoming your own leader. You are not here to be played, to be used, to be shaped by someone else's agenda. You are here to live with clarity, with choice, with power. And if you've ever asked yourself, why does this keep happening to me? Here's your answer. Until you heal the part of you that accepts the game will continue. But today, right now, you've seen too much to go back. You've felt the pull of manipulation, and you've recognized it. That's the beginning of liberation. Now it's up to you to finish it. The final truth is this: your mind is the last territory you must conquer. Not to make it perfect, but to make it yours. Because if you don't take the reins, someone else will. Sometimes it's a controlling partner. Sometimes it's a manipulative friend. Sometimes it's a script from childhood that you never stopped following. But now you see the strings, and once you see them, you can cut them. You won't always get applause. You won't always be understood, but you will be free. And freedom, once tasted, makes anything less unbearable. You were never meant to be someone else's puppet. You were born to master your own script. So take a deep breath and write it. Every sentence, every choice, every silence. This is your mind. And from this day forward, no one owns it but you.